welcome to Keen's Cove. This video I'm going to show you how you can make really realistic looking pavements or sidewalks just from simple cardboard and a few specialist paints from Ammo. I hope you enjoy it. This is just a piece of card and I'm going to see if I can transform that into a realistic looking pavement, or if you're in the US, a sidewalk. So I'm just going to mark this out into 1-inch squares. So here's the pavement all marked out. And you can see I've put a narrow bit on the side there, and that'll denote the edge of the pavement. Now the next step is to go over those grid lines with my craft knife, but only lightly scoring it. I don't want to cut through, but I want enough so that the paint sinks into the gaps. Now you probably can't see this, but I've lightly scored all of those 1-inch squares. What I'm going to do now is, because I want my pavement to look like it's got cracks, is I'm just going to use the craft knife to cut some little cracks in it, just wiggling the tip of the knife around. I don't want to overdo it, but just enough so it looks like this pavement is old and starting to break up. And if you want, you can just cut out at one of the corners and just dig out a bit of the cardboard. Again, you just see there some light cracks. My go-to paints for pavements is a Vallejo stone grey, green grey and a deck tan. Now if you've watched my videos before, you'll see that I don't really use a paintbrush. I always apply my paints with a small bit of sponge, and by using those 3 shades you start to get a more realistic looking pavement. Once I've painted this, what I'll do after that is I'll go in with a dry brush. If you haven't used these from Ammo, I really would recommend it. They might look expensive at first, but believe me, one of these bottles is going to last you years, because you need hardly any, but it's specially formulated for dry brushing. You can even get a dry brush from Ammo as well, which is just a short haired stiff brush, which is just perfect. Once I've done the dry brushing, and I'll use 2 colours, light olive green and panzer grey, I'll then go in with some wet effects, because I want my pavement to look like it's been raining and there's some water left gathering in the cracks. Now you can use any resin, in fact you could even use varnish, but I like the MIG wet effects, and again a small bottle of this. It's going to last a long time. After that, the next stage. Now this is a new product that I've been trying. These are the Ammo Splashes range, and that's damp earth and dry earth. And these are really excellent for modelling just those wet patches of earth. That's the initial layer of paint gone on. It's just a very thin layer of the, what did I use there? The stone grey. I haven't watered it down because I didn't want this cardboard to get too wet. But you can already see that it's starting to warp. So what I'm going to do is just let that dry and put something heavy on top of it so it dries flat. Once it's dried, I'm going to use the sponge to lightly sponge over the deck tan and the green grey. Now I'm just doing a little bit of dry brushing, not too much. There's quite a lot of pigment in these Ammo dry brushing paints. I put a little bit of paint on the brush and then dab most of it off onto a tissue. As you can see, at this stage you can hardly see it, but that's the effect that I'm looking for. Now I'm going to go in with the light olive green dry brush paint. Again, just going to dab a bit on, hardly any, scrape most of it off. And then just do a light dry brush. And one of the things that this does is it highlights the texture of the cardboard. So already it's taking on a really good dirty old pavement look. For the next part, I'm just going to use white spirit and some Ammo streaking grime. So I'm using a very small brush, and I just put a tiny bit of wash on the end of the brush. And I'm just going to work it into the crack. Now you mustn't panic at this stage. Trust me, it's going to turn out just fine. So I've just marked some of the cracks. Then I go in with the white spirit and just start to work away the edges of that wash. So what the white spirit does is it dissolves that enamel wash, just helps you to create more subtle effects. And the benefit of using the enamel washes with the white spirit is you're not going to saturate the card and end up with more warping. And just keep working at it until you're happy with the result. Let's take a look at that under the light. So as you can see, I've gone in really heavy on this. That's because I just wanted to overemphasize it for you to see, but you can be far more subtle if you'd like to. Next, I'm going to use the Ammo Splashes, which is damp earth. I've not used this product much before, but I really do like it. So all I'm going to do is think about where I might have a few puddles, maybe have one here. I'm just going to dab on some of the product, maybe one here. I'm going to leave that for a few seconds. Now, so it doesn't look like you've got great big blobs, what I'm going to do is, again, using the white spirit, load up my brush and I go around the edge of those blobs just to soften it and allow the paint to gently bleed into the rest. Now these are enamel based and do take a while to dry, so it's best now to leave that alone for a while. Next up is the Ammo Wet Effects, just to show you what it might look like if there was a puddle on this pavement or an area where the water was gathering. So I'm just going to gently dab it into one of those cracks. And just leave that to dry. And now for the fun part. I've got some tiny little grass tufts here. Hard to get those in focus, but I'm just going to glue those into the cracks. So it just looks like there's some areas where there's weeds growing. You can make these tufts yourself if you've got a static grass applicator, although there's lots of retailers that sell them as well. And here we have a piece of cardboard transformed into a dirty, grimy pavement. So I hope this has been really useful. Why not have a go and see if you can make some really great looking pavements from cardboard.